just get people in the door, get them to keep coming. Don't try and crush them. I mean, it's like, you don't need to prove a point. You got to keep them coming in. And so again, we'll say this every single week in there. Keep the main thing the main thing. You got to get them coming in.
Nick Garrity, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to have you on finally.
No, glad to be here, man. Looking forward to this.
So before we tell the world about you, if they've been living under a rock, does everyone know you? No?
No, okay. Not everyone. Right. Not everyone.
Did you bring a Did You Know? Because first time on the podcast.
You know what? I'm an overachiever. I brought 2, but they're quick.
Shoot, let's do it.
All right, so
it's typically not quantity, but quality, but let's see what you got.
Well, the first one was funny. And so I'm like, okay, it just kind of doesn't make any sense, and it makes sense at the same time. And so the first one is Scotland chose the unicorn as their national animal. I'm like...
An animal that doesn't exist.
Think about this. They're known for Scotch.
Right.
Kind of makes sense. Like, oh yeah. So let's choose an animal.
Drink enough Scotch, you'll see a unicorn.
Let's go with a unicorn.
You'll see it.
Yeah, it just makes perfect sense. Perfect. So that's their national animal, and it means something to me. My daughter's kind of a unicorn, so So that's the first one. The second one kind of applies to us in this industry here, but it's kind of interesting. Okay, did you know human teeth are the only part of the body that cannot heal themselves?
Oh, so if you break a tooth, it can't grow back. I knew.
I literally have that. I got elbowed in the mouth playing Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a geek story here. So pulled it back in place.
Not Dungeons and Dragons.
Severed the root. No, not that much of a geek.
I'm just saying.
But so this tooth is dead. It can't heal itself. But I think that's kind of cool because think about that. Then that means the rest of the body can. And so we can challenge our clients pretty well, and they're going to heal themselves.
Just don't knock their teeth out.
Just don't hit them in the teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
good point.
I know you lost a few.
The takeaway for today: don't knock out your client's teeth. It'll help your business. So here's mine, because if you're not watching this and you're just audio, I am rocking a man-sized porn stash right now, and this all started because Jared grows a mustache periodically, and I told him he has to shave it because we have Discovery Day this weekend. And I'm like, nobody sells something with a mustache because no one trusts you, right? So, but he's gone on, and the whole team's gotten behind him, and they're like, keep it. I'm like, oh gosh. So I just grew one today in solidarity with Jared, and I have to say mine's a little bit more impressive.
It's looking good.
So my Did You Know is about mustaches, and I had to look it up. It's actually kind of gross. So here you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is why maybe, Jared, also you shouldn't have one. Mustaches are capable of absorbing 20% of their own weight in liquid.
Say it again. What?
A mustache can absorb 20% of its own weight in liquid. That's disgusting. That's which makes them very handy in the event of spillage.
Valid.
The average man will touch his stash upwards of 750 times a day, averaging 31.25 times an hour. So imagine this. Your mustache is basically like a giant sponge for any kind of liquid and or other things. So yeah, if you're walking around with a stash, I'm pretty sure you got a big old staph infection sitting on your upper lip. So thank you for that. And,
wow.
So that's what I have. And because mine's bigger, I'm carrying more. I probably gained a few pounds if it's absorbing that much liquid.
Man, think of all the protein you can just keep up in there for
that's what I'm saying.
A later snack.
They said it's advantageous for spillage. Like I don't have to bring a bar or a shake to work.
Just keep it up there.
Just lick the stash.
Just keep it up there.
Okay. On that note, everyone's like,
solid.
Anyway, Nick Garrity, everybody, tell us a little bit about your background. I think it's going to be interesting. And then for those of you guys that are already checked out, what we're going to talk about today is how to manage multiple facilities. And I think when you hear Nick's background, you'll understand why I wanted to talk to him about this.
Yeah, I'll try and give you the Cliff Notes version, but grew up in a really, really small town in Massachusetts, didn't even have a stoplight, and knew I had to kind of leave there to, maybe pursue a career in something. And so started in sports medicine. That's my first degree was in athletic training. And then honestly just didn't like the injured athlete as much as I thought I would, because it was constantly kind of complaining and blaming somebody for something. But then I did a quick internship in the strength and conditioning department at our college, in Springfield College, one of the best colleges for this sports biology and this background. And I was just fired up. I was like, this is awesome. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be a pro athlete. I love basketball. I'm Portuguese. I don't know any Portuguese guys in the NBA. So I kind of saw that writing on the wall really quickly. And I was like, but I want to be involved in sports. And so, to be able to get on the front end of helping people, develop power, speed, strength, but most importantly, avoid the injuries is what I loved about it. And so did that. Did an internship at Tennessee, Boston College. Ended up getting a job at Marist College, a head strength coach there. Loved that experience, but it was one strength coach for 21 varsity teams. So you want to talk about getting thrown into the fire. It was awesome, man. I just, when you eat, sleep, and breathe it, man, you enjoy the challenge of it. We had some really, really cool teams. But I had met some guys down in Nashville that had started D1 sports training, met with the owner there, and he was like, hey, we're about to open a brand new, state-of-the-art headquarters, and it was 30,000 square feet, and again, training athletes, and but also training, people like, guys like you and me that are like, I still got it. Like, let me, I want to train like that, and I want to still do that. And it was fun, like flipping tires and all that good stuff. And so came down there, and that's when I kind of had my first interjection of what a franchise is like, not really knowing it. I didn't know anything at that time. I was 25, and so we had there was a location in Knoxville, Memphis. We were opening one in Chattanooga, Greenville. So it was like, oh, this is cool. Like I can help coach other guys like me and girls like me that want to be in the industry and are just trying to figure this all out, but really just desire to help people. And so we did that. I did that for a couple of years, and then met another couple of guys down here in Atlanta that were doing a golf specific version of this, I started playing some golf there. I'm like, this is kind of cool, and I was already probably aging, and so I'm like, well, I guess I'll just play golf. And no, we had a whole 3D technology, and so when we built that there, it was a country club in the sky, and I was like, you could do this in multiple cities. Like, this is a pretty cool concept. And now there's a ton of these golf concepts indoors that are, kind of exploding all over the place. And but we also married it to the physical therapy and the performance training. So we had all three of those things in one, which was really cool. Like, but it also led to like the only 1% of the population that could come in. We had the who's who of Atlanta coming in that, just they wanted to kill two birds with one stone. Let's get better at golf, but also if I can improve my physical, shape and
it's one and the same.
Yeah. So, which was awesome. But I wanted to kind of take that to multiple cities, and ended up kind of deciding, okay, if I want to make some more money, and this is where I'll get to like giving opportunities to other guys like you and I coming up in the industry. The only way to make more money was to have other people underneath me. I maximized the hours I was training, the client list. I was giving clients to other coaches at that point. And so I'm like, all right, well, I got to do it on my own. And actually ended up going back to one of my original clients there, who now owns the most orange theories in the world. And he was starting a stretch concept. And he's like, hey, I'd love for you to come in, help, design the protocol, coach the coaches. And then, we're going to open a bunch of these, and, let's just go have some fun doing it. And so I think we ended up with about 17 of those open across the country. So that was really cool to see more of the behind the scenes on it. Where the protocol was great. We upgraded that, and we put some, really cool devices into the system that made people just feel so good. And that's at the end of the day. And I know, I love Rami's passion, one of our franchisees here, about just getting to the why. Like, why are people coming in? And when we were getting people off the table feeling like they're 20 years younger, taller, more energetic, like it led them to do more things in the rest of their day and in their life, and hopefully prolong their life, in the quality of that life. And so, so we opened a bunch of those, and then ended up going into a couple other franchises. So I got to see different industries, and so not just, the wellness fitness space. And then I made a decision a couple years ago. I think I hit two things happened. I hit 40, and we got pregnant with our first kid. And after a little bit of trying, and it just kind of changed my perspective in a really big way. And I was like, okay, I want to do something meaningful. I want to give guys like me an opportunity to come up into something that is more of a career path and not just training by the hour, eat what you kill. I mean, the traditional personal trainer story that you've seen time and time again.
Yep.
And then just kind of leaving a legacy in some shape or form. And it might not be that, my daughter or however many kids we have, gets involved in that, like kind of like you and Matt were just talking about, but, just a business and something that says, hey, let me give you something that if you want to be a part of, that's great. But if not, here's how you can do something like this.
Right.
And, so yeah, that leads us to where we are. We're not doing this just to try it out. We believe in Alloy through and through. And, we've got 5 territories here in Atlanta, and we hope to exponentially grow that across.
What's your goal for total territories? I know you've told me a couple of times. I know you guys have a range that you'd like to shoot for. I mean, obviously you were part of an organization that had, 140 or?
Yeah, so I was
Series,
worked for a guy that had 140 Orange Series, and then our partners here in Atlanta, amazing guys. One of the reasons we partnered with them was to learn from them, and they're a part of another franchise group that has 100 Sonics, 100 Massage Envies, and that's a round number. I mean, I think it's actually more than
like
that.
400 Hilton hotels.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he owns a bunch of hotels himself, has invested in others, and then they're looking at other businesses, and it's just so cool to understand their why behind investing in something. And some of their, some things take $50 million to build, and some are just $300,000 to build, right? And so, well, what's the why? Well, what's the return, and how much time are you spending on it? And like at the end of the day, like how much of a headache is it?
Right. Yeah.
Are you going to be able to sleep at night? And so, I mean, just for us. 25, 50, 70, I don't know. We got to see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, we got to see how well y'all do. I mean, and so we've got this really cool partnership where we're all learning from each other. And I think that as we continue to see things develop here, it gives us even more interest in going even bigger. And so we're excited to see how the next couple of years look and how it all kind of plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, we're honored to have you guys, and we feel the same way. Like, obviously exposure to your investment group that is partnered with you. First of all, you had to convince them to do an emerging franchise, which is not their normal play, right? Normally you buy existing franchises, and through the economies of scale, you tweak them a little bit and you make more margin or what have you. So that was a new play for them. So it'll be interesting. I think we're going to learn a lot from you guys. Hopefully vice versa, and go from there. But yeah, I hope you guys have 1 million.
Well,
have all of them.
To that point, I mean, to that point, like they did look at this and they said, look, we've been wanting to get into the fitness space.
Right.
They looked at F45s, Orange Theories, and those concepts, although they're great and they did a great job, they're like, we have to go and buy one that's existing. Somebody's going to ask for more than we think it's worth.
Right.
It's going to be such a struggle to do that. And then we looked at the white space of what this business has. And if you look across the country, and we've talked about this a bunch, like it's not going after the sexy, young and shit.
Right.
Like, we are making impact on people that normally aren't addressed, right? People that normally aren't advertised to. And I think that's so awesome. And man, we can get into a little bit of the stories that we already have in, that 9 weeks that we've been open in our studio.
Right. Yep.
And, a couple that are 72 years old, and they were just so excited that they painted their deck and didn't hurt.
Right.
Like that was their, and that's
the easiest, like the great thing. Yeah. And the great thing about that customer avatar is like, obviously you've been exposed to like Orange Theory, which is like 30-ish, female leaning, aesthetically driven. Right.
Yep.
And that's kind of a moving target. I mean, like to look good is like, what does that mean? Like, do you want to be in a bikini contest? Do you want to go, what does that mean? And when you take our customer avatar, yes, they want to look better, but I think when you've lived enough time, it's relative to where you are in life. So you're like, I'm not wearing a thong to the beach, but I'll tell you what, if I could paint my deck and move the next day, right? That's like freedom in your life. And so,
absolutely.
And all they have to do to get that goal is just to show up. Yep. That's it. It's not like if you want to be bikini show ready, there is a litany of things and efforts you have to put inside and outside the gym. It has to be your entire lifestyle, right? Painting your deck without pain just means show up, because we're going to handle mobility and strength and all the things, right, are going to happen. All you have to do is show up. And so I love this crowd because they're and listen, that's not all of them. We certainly have plenty of people that are young and fit and want to look amazing, and they'll do that too. But I find it fascinating that the easiest goal and the things that are probably the most impactful for that 50 plus crowd, if you will, are very easy to attain if you just show up regularly. And so all we have to do is create a great customer experience. The programming is already going to do it, right? Just show up, put keys down, we'll handle the rest. And we just have to make sure that it's a fun place and that they can connect the dots with their why and then why they're there, right? Yeah. It's super. I mean, it's not easy. It's like we always say, it's like fat loss. It's just simple. It's like, and that's great. It has to be, right? So all that said, I know you've been exposed to, so again, strength coach, exposure to franchising with D1, came here for a golf concept franchise, ended up being recruited over to work with the other group that had the Orange Theories, and obviously they launched a stretch concept that you helped scale, and obviously you were involved in every bit of that, real estate, marketing, I mean all the things, right? Ops. So obviously you come to Alloy, you and I just kind of been in contact over time, and you had to convince this investment group to come in with you guys, and again, we were honored to have you. So as you guys look at going from 5 in Atlanta to more to however many wherever else, I mean, you guys love the Florida market, like who knows where we end up with you guys, and I hope it's big. What do you think the keys are going to be, maybe from what you've observed with the group that you were with, or just your own lens on things? How do you manage multiple facilities. And I think I'm thinking about this through potential investors who want to do like 3 to 6. Some people want to do 10. I think everyone has aspirations to do like 20. But what does that really mean? So you've had a bit of a peek under the covers at what that looks like. So what kind of insight can you share? Like, do you have any like, here's the main thing, or here's 2 things I think are relevant for someone who wants to open multiple studios. So what's your thoughts?
One of your core values is so important in this, and it's keep it simple. And so when we looked at this, and I've got a group of guys that have been mentors to me the last 10 years, and they all own different businesses and stuff. And I want to keep learning. And I just said, what's the biggest issue? People. And we look at this and we go, 3 employees to run the whole studio. It's open 55 hours a week, right? So it's not 100 hours. You're not giving out drinks at 1 a.m. in the morning, worrying about, what's going on. I mean, it's 3 employees. We structure ours a little bit different, and we can talk about this, but we have 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time. So with the 2 full-time, you could almost have them do all the shifts, right?
Right.
But, we want them to have some bandwidth in their life.
And you want some margin, yeah.
One of the reasons that we did this is I want to give guys like that and guys and girls that the opportunity to have some margin in their life, still make a really good amount and help us grow something like this. But so personnel, right? 3 people. And when you look at the core values, I in the interview process, I have them look at the 5 core values, and I want them to say, just give me a little bit of feedback on each of those, how you feel.
What does it mean to you?
Yeah. Right. Personally, where do you think you are with these? Because we want them to have all 5, but not everybody's going to be an A+ on all of them. And so, the first one and most important to me is the unimpeachable character.
Right.
And we talk about, hey, if I give you $10 million and you got to go to the other side of Atlanta and bring it to the bank, you're going to show up with,
is it going to make it there?
It's not 909. I mean, literally, there's not a dollar missing. And so that's huge to me. And I'll be candid, I'd rather them have the highest amount of character I can find in somebody than the business sense and the knowledge about all the KPI reports and this and that, because we can teach that.
Well, that's franchising, right? There's the bandwidth you need. So it's like it's the hire the athlete, train the skill idea, right?
Yeah. And then you look at keep it simple. And what we say this probably daily, but keep the main thing the main thing. Right. You were just saying this earlier. You just got to get people to keep coming in. And so don't try and wow them with crazy lights and this and that. I mean, just make it simple enough to remove the barriers to entry, right? So there's a lot of things in the alloy process that, the pricing is great. Right. The hours that are available are great, right? So there's a lot of things. Everybody's going to come up with every excuse they can think of. You go, no, we've worked around that. Right. We've worked around that. And so at the end of the day, and one of our KPIs is actually utilization of the whole studio. So we're at 50% right now. We're 9 weeks in. We still got probably 40 clients or so that we want to gain. Mm-hmm. And so that number's got to go up. We're not the big box gym where they'd rather have 9% of the people come in, right, and the other 91% would actually hurt them if they showed up. We're the opposite. We got to have people coming in. That's the only way they tell the story about painting the deck and being able to do that the next day. It's the only way that they actually
isn't that the right way it should be when you look at exactly. And I'm not throwing shade at other business models, but if you sell 10,000 memberships out of 12,000 square feet, the dirty little secret is that whether you want this to be the case or not, getting into that business model that most people are not going to show up. Yep. And if they did, your resources would be short and you'd be crushed. Yep. We're on the other end of the spectrum where we want and almost need everyone to show up. Yep. And so if you're just looking at it through the lens of a consumer, which business, if you can't afford it, would you rather do business with? The one that hopes that you don't show up, or the one that's going to do everything they can to get you to show up because that's your means to your end, right? To your why.
Well, guess what? The value that this customer profile, what they understand, right? So what they're paying for, they want to get in return. And I think we exponentially give that back to them. But when they do come back and they say, man, I just played 4 rounds of golf in Scotland. It was awesome. I could have never done that 2 months ago, or played with their grandkids, or my father-in-law went on a hike with us, right? And he's lost some weight. He's able to do that. And
is he training at the studio?
They live way up north, and so somebody's actually developing one up there. So I'm gonna try and get him in there. Awesome. But just a little bit of inspiration that we're given, to that profile. Their return, they come in and they're telling those stories, and it's not a 25-year-old that still doesn't think they look good, weighing 110 pounds on the beach. You look awesome. Well, in their eyes, they still don't. So anyway, I just think the what they're getting out of this is just, it moves the needle. And if we've learned anything coming out of COVID, right? If you're in better shape, you're losing weight, you're just going to be able to withstand whatever the next thing is.
Yeah. Look, when you read, I know Peter Attia's, if you guys haven't heard of him, he's just a scientist that are really popular right now.
Kind of smart.
But yeah, kind of a smart guy. But he's got his new book out called Outlive. And look, he'll talk about just exercising in general. They haven't found any medication or anything to, substitute or create the same effect that exercise will. What's interesting about it is when they talk about mortality, it's kind of sounds like a downer, but when you look at reducing all-cause mortality by 40%, so that means if you get in a car wreck, even, right? You would think, like, what does that have to do with being fit? It's like a lot, by the way. Yeah. So all-cause mortality, not just death from like cardiovascular disease or whatever. And obviously, those are the big ones. But I mean, look, you're reducing your overall chance of death exponentially just by exercising. That's it. And if you like his stuff and you read through his books, like it just turns out that like his prescribed protocols, which are the cutting edge from anti-aging clinics, that's kind of what we do at Alloy. So it lines up perfectly, right? Yep. Yeah. So
that's the beauty of the system, right? It's like just get people in the door, get them to keep coming. Don't try and crush them. Don't try. I mean, it's like you don't need to prove a point. You got to keep them coming in. And so again, we'll say this every single week in there. Keep the main thing the main thing. You got to get them coming in, right? And that starts with your personnel. So kind of back to where
you guys have done well. I think you've been the best at retention throughout like the early innings, because typically you're running a pre-sale. You're going to have a lot of people that come in. That's going to be your highest point of churn is like month 2, 3 when you come off a founder's rate, whatever that is, right? Because right now it's just a half off the first month, so it doesn't take long to get to the real number, right? There's another guy who's done really well with it up in Greenville that owns the clinic. He's got this inherent trust already built in, right? So yeah, you open like full. Yeah, it's just such a cheat code. Opens full.
Love it.
But I think you guys have done well, and you hire the right people, and you treat them the right way, and you treat them the way you want them to treat the customer, which is kind of seems like an obvious thing. Doesn't always work out that way. So I think for you guys, it's the right play, right? It's like it sounds great, like sell it full, and just and that can happen. But it's better to, I mean, with our minimal number, in most cases, you're at least at break even, if not making some money when you open, right? And then you just start your 20-mile march of continuing to grow and keeping your clients happy and keeping them coming in. Yeah. That's really the model, essentially. It's a retention model at the end of the day.
And that gets to the second point of like how we grow this, and what was so enticing, I think, about this is just like the communication aspect and what y'all have developed. So as we looked at different franchises, I was looking at a carpet cleaning franchise. I'm like, oh man, it costs nothing to open this thing. And I woke up one day and I was like, I can't get behind that. I can't wake up and get excited about it. I'm not changing lives. Like we are truly changing lives. And so it starts with communication. And so when you say, like, how do you keep it simple? Well, we have a daily metric that we're looking at, right? I just want to know how many SPSs did we do? Did we gain how many new members? And what's our member total every day? And I don't need it overcomplicated. I don't need the why behind, they had this. I just want the numbers, because I want each of the guys in the studio to understand the heartbeat of the studio. And that means, hey, if we're trending, right? So we were at 92 members, now we're at 96, now we're at 105. Like, look, it's trending positively. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the main thing. And then if it's going the other way, okay, let's reassess. Like, where are we at? But if we overcomplicate and say, I need this, metric and this one, every single day, they're gonna be like, okay, whoa. So, but you got to communicate that. And that, the guy I worked for, right? It was one of the lines he always said is, have you ever read a headline where a business went out, they went under because they over communicated? Did you ever read that headline? Like, they just talked too much and they were just sharing too much information amongst it. Like, no, but you oftentimes hear they weren't on the same page. They had no way to talk about, they didn't know their KPIs, right? They didn't even know how many members were in each studio. Like, so I think if you talk about communication and valuable communication, not fluff, not, I have this and that and this, like, no, just give me the most important things. And on a weekly basis, we're meeting. My wife worked for a business. They've never had a staff meeting. They've been open for 17 years. Never had a staff meeting.
Oh, that's great.
How do you think their communication was?
Well, we're running EOS, so we have like a framework for how to run a meeting. It's like,
so when I showed the investors, like, look at all the stuff that they already have developed. So where y'all are at 26 open right now, I think.
Yes.
The amount of information and background data that you have is phenomenal. And so I think as we continue to grow this and we keep simplifying, I think, the training for the coaches, right? So the directors and the coaches, like, as that keeps getting better and better, man, and the communication stays where it needs to be, it's a home run. It's a home run. Yeah. So,
all right, so it's got to be simple.
Yep.
Communication. Yep. Any other things you can think of as you guys, because obviously if you're going to be, let's say you're at 50 studios, right? You're going to be some in one city, some in another city. Do you have and I can weigh in just on experience that we've seen. Do you have a ramp or a playbook for like regional managers, like that you have an idea of, like, because it's really just a math problem, right? If you got strong unit economics, how many studios do you need to support a regional, right? I mean, do you have an idea of what you guys are going to do for that?
We bounce two different things off of each other. And one is like a dual director for two studios, which I don't love yet because I don't love that. I love that the director, right? I love that the director's in the studio and
well, and you need it's like the head coach for the whole business. Yeah. For that one neighborhood location is what you want to think. And if they're splitting time, it's like meh, maybe, but I don't love it for that.
I mean, my director, like every person that comes in, he knows them. He's not training everybody, but he knows every member that comes in, right? And there's so much value to that. So I think it's more of a regional over 5, 6. I mean,
that's what we're thinking. I mean, look, if I was doing it, if I was in your shoes and I was doing, we can't make claims, but if I like where you guys are headed and what you're going to make, if you have 6 studios open, you can afford to compensate somebody pretty well. And I mean, maybe a baller can manage like 10, and then each studio has a director. And then there's a regional that manages 6 to 10, right? That kind of idea.
Well, you think geographically too, right? So
yes,
we're hoping we have 5 studios just on the north side of Atlanta, right? And then we're hopefully looking at the south side. I mean, there's some really viable locations down there.
Big time, yeah.
But do I want a regional that's over that? Could they probably? Is it more effective? Maybe we got 5 or 6 on the north side, and that's regional, and then south side is, and then we're looking at, multi-city, multi-state.
Yes.
How does that play out? And you just got to think realistically. Like if I'm flying somebody all over the place, are they getting burnt out? And I did this, my partner and I did this because we want to give people an opportunity to have margin in their life, and if we're not selling, if we're not really living up to that and we're just selling that, it's not going to end up being a great big picture. So I think that's definitely part of this. But how do you replicate yourself too? Right. And you talked about how do you keep the culture going here at the headquarters? Yeah. We've got to do that. And it starts with us and making sure that I think, if you don't believe in the product first and foremost, like that's the first spot there. And I try to get in the workouts each week and let the coaches see it, let them coach me, let the clients see. We had one of the clients and it was like, you do this too? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Like,
can you imagine? No, I do something else.
Yeah, no, shoot,
I get that question all the time. People are like, what do you do for workout? I'm like, I do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, you do? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I might throw some fluffy stuff in at the end, like some arms and stuff, like guy junk,
squat rack,
but that's already built into the systems anyway. Emotional exercises, like if you got a guy in there who needs to lose 50 pounds and his cholesterol's high, yeah, give him what he needs. But like at the end, we have a system with the iPad and the communication tool. Yeah. Give him what he wants. Let him do some curls because he's been doing them since 6th grade. He's got dumbbells under his bed. It's like he's that guy. As are a lot of us. You watch superhero movies. You like Power Rangers. It's like, I want to be built like that. So like, give them what they want, and they're going to certainly aesthetically improve just doing normal programming, but just throw in some stuff at the end that makes them happy, bro. It's so easy. That makes it personal training.
Wait, did you just say Power Rangers?
I did. Why?
So we were talking about you dating yourself earlier.
Is that old?
So like not like Iron Man or anything like that, but the Power Rangers.
You mean Iron Man?
That's
like
what came to mind.
Power Rangers came to mind. Is that more recent?
It's interesting. No, I just thought maybe you think more like Thor or somebody like.
Oh yeah. Are you more like a Teletubbies, or is that where you're going?
Here's a did you know?
Rick Ross? Did you ever see the Rick Ross as a Teletubby?
Some story just came across my feed, and it was like one of the Teletubbies was 10 feet tall, and I'm like, how creepy is? I don't know. Anyway, but
they are kind of weird looking. Okay, I was just checking. I mean, everybody's got their thing.
But no, I mean, but think about it. Like I'm 43 now. Like I'm in that profile of kind of who we're going after. And so
of course,
I want to go through and feel what I feel like when I wake up the next day, and it actually helped us. And you and I touched on this off camera, but like. Early in the life of the studio is a whole different phase of the general life of a studio.
Yeah, tell me more about that, because I found that interesting. Like obviously I understand what you're saying, but I haven't heard anyone articulate that. So like you were speaking of it like phases in the business, right? So
hey,
describe that to me.
Let's be upfront and not sugarcoat things. And so when we start, and we've learned a lot in this first studio, a crap ton. So the first few weeks, first couple of months is so different from the life of what most of the coaches we're hiring are used to, right? So they're usually coming from, hey, I was just personal training 7 or 8 hours a day, and I had these groups and we were out in the field doing this and that. It's like, okay, well, you're about to do 100 calls a week with 85 of those saying no. Right. You're not training anybody. You're gonna help me paint the back room or something. I mean, like literally, it's such a diversion from what they've done before. We've got to be upfront with them about that and set that expectation. Like, don't just trust me in this. I need everybody just like batten down the hatches. Like, we're all going in on this for the next couple of months. Then you're going to start getting into the SBS, and it's really cool because you start to see them shine. And the guys that we have in our studio, man, like those calls were hard, and they'd come out of the office like, just another no, but. Then they would light up and somebody like they sold it themselves. Like somebody called and they were just like, I need this, that, and this. We're like, yep, done.
Right.
And then they started doing the SBSs. And that's where they're like, man. Like,
well, that's the wheelhouse, right?
It's huge.
I think you're right. Like we found that too, that it's one thing to, like when we talk about the hiring process, like if you're going to have, like we have somebody or you can hire or people you can hire to be like a hit team for your pre-sales if you need it. because it's so difficult. And I think when you bring somebody in that's used to selling personal training face to face, it's always friendly. I mean, the close rate of a starting point session in our system now is like 90%.
That's
so
awesome.
just got to get them to the gym.
Yep.
We have a great product at a fair price. It's a good avatar, the whole thing. And if you're not used to phone sales, they're difficult. And if you're selling for something that doesn't exist, you're typically using direct response marketing, which is what works in a pre-sale. That's like Facebook, whatever that might be.
Yep.
And so you're going to get a lot of people who it's just weird. I mean, our expectation, and it's a good metric if you can hit 15%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're not used to hearing no 85% of the time, I don't care what you tell someone or how much you prepare them, it is difficult. And what it can tell them if you're not careful, and I know you're sensitive to that. So in your weekly meetings, which you should be having, you're just realigning expectations. Like, this is fine. It's normal. It's fine. Otherwise, someone can start to get to a place mentally where they think something's wrong with the product, like people don't like this, or people don't like me. I'm not good at this. And that can cause just sort of a spiraling if you're not careful. So it's the reality of it. There's no way around it. It is difficult. If you can coach people to look at it as an opportunity to build a new skill, because if you can learn to sell something, especially that in that setting, it's a great skill. You can take that skill, alloy or not, into the future and make a lot of money for yourself. So use it as an opportunity, right?
And so many coaches don't realize they're already salespeople. Like, you don't get 30, 40 clients without being able to talk to them and convince them that what you do is the right thing for them, right? I mean, like, you already are.
You're selling them on making lifestyle changes that will get them where they want to be. So even if it's just showing up for workouts, they've never done it before.
Yep.
So you are selling. And so you're right. But it takes someone like you in your position as a mentor or coach of your team to continually realign expectations and to make sure that the clarity on that is there, it's present, it's very clear, and that it's okay, to feel the way they're feeling, so that they're not, thinking, okay, something's wrong with me because I don't enjoy hearing no 85% of the time. I'm like, guess what? No one likes it. You just build a resilience. It's like a muscle. You build it, and then you're okay with it because you've built this tolerance. But no one's okay with it, like 100%. Sort of like working out. It's difficult. There's no way around that, right? A lot of people don't love the actual thing, but the results are worth it, right? Same kind of idea.
Well, what else is built into Alloy? Celebrating the wins, right?
100%.
So celebrate the little wins. We've got, so again, communication. We've got a group chat with the entire staff. Our partners, like, we're all in it. So on a daily basis, we're talking. And so they sign something. I'm like, guys, put that in there. Now that we're only signing a few people up a week, whatever the number is, like, let's celebrate that. Okay. And then let's talk about why maybe somebody left or what happened. We just had 6 college kids leave. Like, oh, shoot. I was like, well, we knew that was going to happen. Like, they're not going to be able to keep training those. So that's just a fact. Like, just move on and keep getting better. But celebrate the wins. And that goes really, really far, especially with, a lot of the no's that are coming in. And then just look at the little things. But it starts with belief. And like, anybody that's looking at an Alloy franchise, obviously listen to every one of these. I think you guys give so much valuable information in these, and just the realistic, kind of background to Alloy and, why you're doing this and but listen to Hormozy too. Right. And so he just had a podcast about, if you don't believe in it, you can't sell it.
No, well, listen, it's insidious. It'll creep into your body language, your tonality, your conviction. It's everywhere. It's like in every bit of communication that you have, it oozes out of you one way or the other, right? So you have to have that strong belief in what it is that we do. That's why we are big on sharing milestones, sharing success stories. That's not just for, new client, like business development, right? Selling new clients. Social proof is a thing. It's important. It's also for our teams to see that what we're doing works and it makes a difference in people's lives, because they need the conviction to go back and do the hard things to get people to move their direction and make the lifestyle changes to be successful.
Well, and Rami's talked about how, we can sell the memberships and stuff, and but it all starts with his belief of the process and truly believing he's going to change someone's life. And if you kind of change that, once you get them through that door, right, they walk into you make the decision in your mind, they just change their life. Right, you haven't done a workout with them. You're
under the assumption that they need your help, and you are a vehicle to their goal, and it would be a travesty to not convince them to get on board, because you can get them there. But you need that level of conviction, because then it's not a sale. It's like sitting down with a family member who's not in a good way physically and shooting straight with them, and you're doing it from a place of love and caring, and you want to help them, not I need to close this deal because there's a commission on the back end or whatever. And so I think you talked about Rami. That's really his superpower. We play some of his sales calls in our training because he closed 35% of people got on the phone. It was obscene. But when you listen to tactically, does he follow the exact script? No. But he asks a lot of questions. He's genuinely interested in other people, and the conversation goes where it goes, and it's always about them. And he tries to draw common ground. He's just an engaging person that can have a great conversation with someone else, right? But he ultimately, the impetus of all of that is that he cares and that he wants to help people so much. And they feel it in every bit of interaction they have with him.
It's one of the reasons we want to build as many as we can, because that means we can impact as many lives as possible. Right. Not only coaches and giving them opportunities, but how many clients can we change? Not just look better in the mirror, but literally change their lives when they're coming in and telling stories about playing with their kids. And just going on lifetime trips that they never thought they could do. I mean, you're literally changing their lives. And that's, I looked at all these other franchises. And when I woke up, I'm like, I can't do that.
I mean, I like a clean carpet too, Nick, but I'm not sure it'll change my life.
It's not going to change your life. I mean, the next day you're going to be pissed about something, right? I mean, it's like, but this is like, man, I just, you keep them coming in, keep them training. And, you do that next in-body scan. They go, oh my gosh, we had somebody in a month lose 13 pounds and gain 7 pounds a month. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. And she is ecstatic. She's telling her friends. Her daughter came in with her. I mean, like, changing lives.
Well, we talk about the reason we like the InBody, and that's our measuring device for those of you guys that don't know, for like body comp, if you will, is there's that metric, that time to value, right? So TTV, like how quickly can you prove to the person that you can do the thing they came in for? Because like you get a month in and you produce that, and that's pretty drastic, but awesome. But even if it was 4 pounds down and 2 pounds of muscle gained, right? Because sometimes you don't always feel it on a daily basis. You got water weight, clothes fit a little bit better, but you're not really sure. So you really see what's going on inside your body. Yep. You can do that in 30 days. That's time to value. Huge. Now you've proven in 1 month that you can do the thing that they came in for. Now you have their trust. Now you can start talking about all the other things they need to do. Maybe even mitigating some of the, like, I need to lose 50 pounds. It's like, well, let's just do the habits as opposed to the end goal, right? Yep. Like, yes, we'll get to the outcome, but let's focus on the daily habits. But it takes a minute for someone to get there, and the first thing you have to do is prove you can do the thing they came in for, right? So that's why really why we love the InBody.
Can I be honest about it too?
Sure.
Like, you're not going to look at that client and go, wow, this is going to be amazing. I can tell. Like, in a month, you're not seeing huge body morphic changes, right? I mean, like, they've lost
13 pounds is a lot.
I mean, and like, so you're kind of going in body like, well, I don't know, like we're hoping, and then each of the tests we went through, like
every single one,
we saw gains.
And you go from like fingers crossed because you can't see a visible difference to like, oh my gosh, if this turns out bad, it's going to kill us, right? But again, time to value for the customer. Yep. Also, time to value for the team. Yep. They start seeing these results, and they're like, this really works. And I think intuitively they knew it, but do they really know it, right? Do they feel it? Do they preach it? Does it come out in every conversation and interaction with a client? Once they start proving it to themselves that what they're doing is changing lives, it just starts to snowball, right?
Well,
steamroll.
Matt was funny when we were going through our opening, right? He's like, all right, let's go through the checklist. And he looks up and our success board was up, right? All the success stories. And I said, well, yeah, because that's a direct correlation to what we do, right? That people are going to come in and go, holy cow, there's already 12 stories up here of people that have changed their lives. And I made sure that was up there because I want clients to come in and see that and see the potential, see the hope for how they can change their lives.
That's it.
And now we're starting to put our clients up there, and now they're bragging to other people. But guess what? Now they're telling more people to come in. It's going to take those first few months of them. All right, let me see how this new concept is and try this out.
So
and
funny.
Next thing you know, you find out who the mayor is, right? We got a couple of clients that are just, they're always talking about it, and they've now referred this person and that person. And that's when you just go, okay, yeah, this is legit. Like, this is awesome.
So if you had summing it up, basically, because we'll wrap it up because I know we could jaw all day.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're part of a really dynamic group. You've brought along some investors that are super savvy in franchising. Obviously, that's key for you guys, and it's going to help us. And you really think the key is obviously to keep things simple because communications have to be. And then, of course, the next phase of that is people, and they're kind of one and the same. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it all starts with the people. And one of the best books I've ever written on leadership is called The Leaders Worth Following. Okay, the only leaders worth following, and it's actually who, not what, and it means. They looked at 8 different kind of characteristics of the best leaders in the world. And what it came down to was 2 of those 8 were about who you are and who like you portray. And the first part of that is being inwardly sound. And that's when I said, when I hit 40 and had a kid, it changed my whole perspective. Like it had to stop being about me. Right. And I'm being honest. Like I was selfish. I was, a lot of things were about me. Like, and so when you're inwardly sound, okay, so you're strong in your convictions and what you believe and how you want to go about your day and so on. And then others focus is the second characteristic. And they said that took up 3/4 of the value of a great leader. So the other 6 characteristics only made up 25%.
Like who you are as a person.
Who you are as a person. rather than the vision casting or being great at spreadsheets or right. I mean, all that is all important. The two most important things. So if you're others focused, right? So if I go into that studio and the first thing I'm thinking about is like, how can I help these guys get better? Not only the clients, but our coaches. And then you transfer that across the board for the next 3 or 4 studios, and you set that example for being truly others focused. Like I make sure this is not me bragging. Like I make sure the guys see me vacuuming, cleaning. Like I want to help them. I want to show them that I'm there to serve them. And then so at the end of every meeting, what can I do for you guys? Like what else can we do for you? What's going to make things easier for what else? Do you feel like you're struggling with? Like, can we help teach you anything else? And constantly encouraging them, to keep growing. And then the other book is Leaders Eat Last, right?
Yep.
So Simon Sinek, great book. We give those to each of our full-time employees, and love for them to read them, and just learn what it's like to truly, kind of be more of a servant leader.
Yeah, love it, man. Well, I think that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Garrity. Hey, brother, appreciate you, and I look forward to all 175 studios that you're going to open.
I'm in. Let's go.
All right, guys, peace.